Hello, nerds, losers, and assorted others. I'm Cringe Shark, and it is super obvious I don't know how to record an intro. That one's definitely not coming back. I'm just trying some things out, different video styles and stuff like that, you know? I got a new mic for Christmas, but my brain neurons haven't connected yet, so I really don't know how to use it. Unfortunately, we're stuck with my voice sounding like it's being recorded in a damp shoebox for a while more. I know, I hate it too. I meant to get this video out a couple days ago, but I'm still trying to fix my microphone only to be defeated by a piece of technology. I'm not gonna lie, if there's ever a robot apocalypse, you guys have the right to make me the first sacrifice. Apparently I'm dying to a toaster. It's a new year and I've kind of been procrastinating with any big art projects or new YouTube videos, which is why I haven't posted anything on here in 2 months. I'm changing that now though, so YouTube algorithm, you better treat this well. Something I've noticed since getting into Marvel projects in the last 2 years is that us fans, we just don't like anything. We complain about things before they're even out. It's crazy. To be clear, that's not specifically a Marvel thing, just fandom culture in general. If you have a big group of people all enjoying one thing, someone's going to be disappointed by the sequel because everyone enjoyed the first thing for different reasons. I've seen this a lot with Captain America Brave New World, and Thunderbolts, and Avengers Doomsday, which is actually pretty justified. But I saw this a ton with your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And I do understand having doubts, but people were throwing hands with this show when the teaser dared to drop. Now that the first 2 episodes have actually been released, at least at the time of me recording this, I can honestly say that most of the premature hate didn't pay off. The show so far is pretty good. I think it has a lot of potential, and from what we've seen so far, it's really entertaining. To address the elephant in the room, yeah, the animation is really obviously cheap. Because the art style is trying to replicate an old comic book look, it puts such an emphasis on its thick black line art, and the show is kind of begging to be 2D instead of 3D. And this might be a personal thing, but the saturation of the colors was kind of weird. I don't really know how else to describe it. The coloring style just looks sort of limited and unfinished. But I will say, I got used to it before the first episode was over. It was a little distracting in some parts, but the sequence of Peter swinging to school was actually really well done. I understand why people are complaining about this, though. Cheap animation isn't really the problem here. There are plenty of beloved shows and movies where the animation is not the highlight. I think people just feel a little bit cheated because Marvel has proven less than a year ago that they can do great animation. X-Men 97 did numbers, everyone loved that show. They heavily referenced the art style of both the comics and the 90s X-Men show, but used modern animation tools and knowledge that really gave it that extra flair. The animation is smooth and visually unique. So yeah, people feel kinda cheated when Marvel has proven that they can go above and beyond with their animation and just aren't putting that same love into your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And I get that, I really do. But like I said before, you do get used to it, and the visuals serve their purpose in conveying the story effectively. Going into this show, I was pleasantly surprised by Peter. He follows the basic mold of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and while that isn't my favorite Spidey, I think Peter in this show leans into some really interesting aspects of the character that Tom Holland's Spider-Man didn't. I really love his relationship with Aunt May. The genuine moments between them feel familial and lived in, you know? They don't water things down too much for the audience, and I appreciate that. It would have been cool to have some of the original comic Spidey's sassy personality instead of the really naive and young demeanor that Tom Holland set the trend of, but you can't win them all. I think it works considering Uncle Ben was implied to have died recently, or at least within the past year, and people change a lot when they're grieving. Maybe we'll get more of that snarky confidence later, but even if we don't, I'm not too pressed about it. The pizza robbery scene was easily my favorite so far. It felt more like a Miles Morales moment than a Peter Parker one, but I like how much it sets a new tone. That's another thing actually, slight tangent. I was kinda surprised by how mature some aspects of this show were handled. That scene of Lonnie walking home is a super good example of that. There's a lot of visual or implied stuff that isn't explicitly stated, which again I really appreciate, especially for, a kid's show. It adds a new layer of humanity and familiarity to Spidey that really only comes with street-level stories. When you're fighting robots in space, you're dealing with some pretty heavy stuff. I'm not saying those stories can't parallel real-world issues or deal with personal things, they absolutely do, but Spider-Man being so connected to the people he's protecting is so personal and real that it's definitely noticeable. Again, this show just feels so lived in. Like we don't have to know any of the characters in that scene outside of Peter to feel for all of them. I could probably go on about that scene alone for a really long time. If you need anything to convince you to watch your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, go watch that scene. Speaking of non-main characters, Nico. I was super excited when I saw Nico in some of the promotional stuff. The Runaways are easily in my top 5 superhero teams, which is probably one of the nerdiest things I've ever said. I think her personality in this show is in some ways an improvement from the source material, though. She kind of has some more of Gert's personality thrown in there, and a little more obvious confidence than she usually has. The dynamic between Peter and her was kind of funny and cute. I'm really interested in how they're going to write her backstory, considering a pretty big part of the Runaways is that they're, runaways. According to the prequel comic, Nico is living with her foster mom, and there haven't been any implications of Nico knowing any of the other Runaways so far. I'm just hoping that she gets the staff of one at some point in the show. I also really like her design. She's noticeably younger than her comics counterpart, which works perfectly. Nico is immature and silly and bad at regulating her emotions. Make her look like it! Marvel, stop being cowards. Make her look goofy and messy and young. She's a teenager in the 2000s. There's no way she's that put together. How obvious is it that I've thought about this excessively? Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man also kind of reminds me of Marvel Rivals, in the way that it's, wait, who is this kind of thing? They have a handful of characters from various unrelated comics, which is neat. I recognized Nico, Amadeus Cho, and Lonnie Lincoln, but Jean and Asha were totally new to me. Amadeus, or Braun, was portrayed pretty accurately. He's arrogant, but with a softer side I'm sure we'll see later. Lonnie I'm really interested in, because he'll go on to become Tombstone. I'm not overly familiar with the villain, but I will riot if Lonnie actually becomes a main villain. He's just immediately likable and sympathetic to the audience. The show emphasizes immediately that he's really smart, like Peter Parker smart, as well as physically strong and charismatic, so if this guy does switch up on his sweet demeanor, he's gonna pack a punch. Based on how he was introduced, I can't imagine the writers make him irredeemable or cruel, but I can see him being driven to do more extreme things to help his family. Maybe he'll prioritize their needs above his own clean record, and before he knows it, he's not the good guy in the narrative's eyes anymore. There's also Newman Osborn, and I've seen some people not really like the homecoming Tony Stark route they're taking with him. I get that, but I think it's too early to judge. Newman Osborn has never really captivated me too much as a character, so for me personally, it's just cool that they're taking a new route with the character. It will be a shame to see Peter's current suit go, because I actually really like it. It's grounded and pretty accurate to what a teenager could probably scrap together in his situation. Plus, it's just, genuinely cool. Overall, I'm super excited for this show. The hate is undeserved. The characters are engaging and refreshing, and it's a good setup for a story. I've seen it get some more positive feedback since the release, so that's super cool. If you haven't watched it already, definitely go do that. So, thanks for clicking on my video, considering how many other videos there are on YouTube. I guess you just sense my super chill, cool vibes. I don't know, maybe you should, subscribe or something, I don't know.